Hello and welcome to Rudra IAS. My name is Kumar Anuj and our today's topic of discussion, my friends, is going to be Ramsar Convention. Why this topic? Because this topic was recently very much in news when last week one of the wetlands of India was declared as a Ramsar site, 94th Ramsar site in India. So that's why this topic is extremely important for our exam purpose. So let's see about Ramsar Convention in detail, step by step, so that everything that is relevant to our exam is precisely cleared. So when we talk about Ramsar Convention, the first most important thing that comes in our mind, that what is this? Meaning, what is Ramsar Convention? So, my friends, Ramsar Convention, this is formally known as Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, formally known as Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, of international importance, my friends. Now, this convention, this Ramsar Convention, is the first international treaty. It is first international treaty. This is the first international treaty to focus on a single ecosystem type. To focus on a single ecosystem type. Single ecosystem type. My friends, we have various other conventions and treaties, but they focus over multiple ecosystem types altogether, meaning more than one ecosystem. Their mandate, their area includes more than one ecosystem. But when we talk about Ramsar Convention, it is the only international treaty that focuses only over a single ecosystem type, that is wetlands. Which is that ecosystem type? That is wetlands, my friends. Now, before we go further deeper into details, just a quick discussion of key terms used here that is important. For example, as we see a term used here, international treaty. The second one is ecosystem. And the next is, which is the mandate of this convention, that is wetlands. Until and unless we do not understand these three key terms, we cannot fully understand the Ramsar Convention. So first of all, we should decode these terms and try to understand the essence of these terms as per the requirement of our exam. So when we talk about treaty and international treaty, my friends, when we talk about a treaty at international level, we know that treaty is a legally binding instrument. It is a legally binding instrument. Meaning the countries that are party to the treaty, the countries that have agreed to the provisions of the treaty, they are bound to follow the provisions of the treaty. It is legally binding instrument. And this instrument, it is signed by party countries. My friends. Party countries. Meaning countries that are party to the convention or party to that particular treaty. So it is signed by party countries as as a formal written document, my friends. Written document. Written document. Formally, it is formally signed as a written document by the party countries to the convention. It is legally binding. And when we talk about treaty at international level or in the international context, my friends, this treaty, this is a unique instrument at the international level. There are multiple other instruments, as we know. For example, agreement, declaration, MOU, various other instruments that are exercised at the international level. They are reached between multiple countries at the international level. But when we compare other instruments at the international level, they differ from the treaty, international treaty, because international treaty, that is legally binding instrument, whereas most of the other instruments like agreement, declaration, MOU, they are usually, most often, they are not legally binding. For example, when we talk about agreement, we can take the example of Global Compact on Migration. Global Compact on Migration. Global Compact on Migration. This is an international agreement led by United Nations and reached in 2018. It manages the human migration at the international level from one country to another. So this is an agreement, for example, which is agreed by multiple party countries, but it is not legally binding. For example, if any of the party country that does not follow the provisions of this agreement, so there is no any kind of legal restriction on that particular party. Next, we see declaration. We have multiple declarations like Stockholm Declaration of 1972, like Rio Declaration of 1992, but they are not legally binding, as we largely know. The next, MOU, for example, as we have an example of India-US Memorandum of Understanding on Defense Cooperation that was reached in 2015. India-US Memorandum of Understanding on Defense Cooperation. It was reached in 2015. This is a memorandum of understanding between two countries, India and US. It is also a type of international instrument, MOU, but this instrument is not legally binding as international treaty, as we are here discussing about Ramsar Convention, which is a treaty. That's why it is legally binding over the party countries. Now, the next question arises, what happens if a party country does not follow any of the treaty provisions? What happens? What is the provision? What are the instruments that enforce the treaty provisions? And if a party country that does not follow any of the treaty provisions, then what could be the enforcement mechanisms? This is a key aspect here we need to discuss, because this could be the part of mains question as well in the UPSC exam. So this is extremely important. What if a party country does not follow any of the treaty provisions? We know in a country, at a country level, within the country, there are various legal enforcement mechanisms, like multiple levels of courts, multiple levels of legal mechanisms like High Court, Supreme Court, etc. They ensure they ensure the compliance of any of the internal kind of rule book. But when we talk about international treaty, there is nothing like that at the international level. There the compliance is ensured in the form of persuasion. What are the means of compliance? Persuasion. For example, if any country does not follow any of the treaty provision, that particular country may have to face my friends, diplomatic pressure, meaning peer pressure of other parties to the convention or the treaty. For example, if there are 10 parties to a treaty, 10 countries party to a treaty, and one of the countries is not following any of the provisions of that treaty, then the remaining 9 countries of that treaty, they will build a diplomatic pressure over the country, over the non-compliant country, meaning the party that is not following the provisions of the treaty. So this is known as diplomatic pressure. Now, the next mechanism, the next kind of consequence that a party country may have to face if it is not following any of the treaty provisions, that is global alienation. Meaning global separation. All the countries at the global level will alienate that particular single country, meaning singling out. Just you single out a country from your group. So it is like that you are pressurizing the particular country to follow the treaty provisions. The next meaningful instrument could be reputation loss. For example, if any of the country party to a treaty does not follow any of the provisions, there is a threat for the loss of the reputation, international reputation of that particular country, the weight of that particular country. People will say, all the other countries would say, that particular country which is not following any of the treaty provisions is a non-compliant country. They can make mockery out of that. So this is a kind of a reputation loss a non-compliant country may have to face. The next important thing is the particular country may have to face dispute procedures as well. Dispute procedures may have to face dispute procedures either in the treaty secretariat or at any international court like ICJ. So these are the kind of consequences a floating country, meaning a country which is floating any of the treaty provisions, which is the party to that particular treaty and floating any of the treaty provisions. That country may have to face these kind of consequences at the international level. And that's how the legal restrictions of a treaty are ensured. When we say that a treaty is a legally binding instrument, it means if any of the party country that is not following any of the treaty provisions, then that particular country may have to face these consequences. So this is all about treaty. My friends, here there is a question, subjective question for you, because as we know, civil services exam, the nature of the civil services exam, they ask questions from these types of areas. So I have a question for you, a subjective question, and you have to write down the answer of this question in 200 words, and comment the answer in the comment section below for having an open review, a public review of your answer. The question is, my friends, international treaties create legal obligations. as we have discussed, they are legally binding, legal obligations, but the enforcement remains weak. As we have discussed, that enforcement under the treaty, they are not like that we have the legal mechanism within the country. They are different. They are basically based over pressure, peer pressure, global diplomatic pressures, etc. So that's why enforcement remains weak. Examine the mechanisms available to ensure the compliance when a state meaning party country to the treaty, violates its commitments under the treaty. You have to write down the answer in 200 words. And this is also important to tell you that this question belongs to GS paper 2 of civil services, IAS and PCS exam, GS paper 2. So this is a question for you, and you have to write down the answer of the question in 200 words, and then drop your answer in the comment section below for the open review. Now, coming to the next keyword, that is ecosystem. Before we go further into details, understanding these keywords is very important. Now, the next is ecosystem, my friends. When we talk about ecosystem, what is ecosystem? Ecosystem, eco meaning combined kind of system, as the name suggests. So ecosystem, my friends, is a community of what? Community of living things. Community of living things. Living things. Which living things? Living things like animals, plants, microbes, etc. Living things. And non-living things, my friends. Non-living things. Non-living things. Here I am discussing this topic in entirety, so that if we just watch out this video lecture, nothing is left behind with respect to Ramsar Convention, which could be important for our civil services exam. So we are discussing it in entirety. Hope you are enjoying. Non-living things like soil, water, air, sunlight, etc. So a community of living things and non-living things, both interacting and living together. They are interacting with each other and they are living together. So that's what we know a ecosystem. For example, we have pond ecosystem. We can take the example of a pond ecosystem. Pond is also one of the types of wetlands, as we know. Pond ecosystem. In pond ecosystem, we see the living entities like fish, frog, microbes, plants at the edges of the ponds, and non-living entities like water, soil in the form of clay beneath the water, sunlight, air, etc. They interact each other and they live together. So that's what we know a ecosystem is. For example, a pond ecosystem. So this is all about ecosystem that we require to know. Now the next important term here is wetlands. This is extremely important to know because Ramsar Convention is basically based over wetlands. So that's why Ramsar Convention just tries to protect the wetlands. So we should understand the wetlands now. When we talk about wetlands, my friends, when we talk about wetland, wetland. Now, wetland, it is an area fully or partially submerged, an area fully or partially submerged underwater. Either it is fully submerged or partially submerged. Fully or partially submerged underwater. Either throughout the year, meaning full year. Either throughout the year or major part of the year. Or major part of the year. Major part of the year. Either natural, for example, lakes, or man-made. For example, ponds, paddy field, etc. They are also types of ecosystem, different types of wetlands. So a wetland is an area which is either fully or partially submerged underwater, either throughout the year or major part of the year, meaning submerged under the water, either throughout the year or major part of the year. It may be natural or man-made, as we know the examples of natural wetlands, like coastal wetlands, like lakes, man-made wetlands, like ponds, like paddy fields, etc. So these are the examples of wetlands. Now, some of the most popular examples of wetlands could be like swamps, marshes, mangroves, lakes, river banks, ponds, paddy fields, etc. So this is ecological definition of a wetland. But for example, there are lakhs of wetlands in India. They qualify the ecological definition of wetlands, but they all are not notified by the government as wetlands, because the notification by the government side regarding a wetland, that is made over the importance of any particular wetland. For example, first of all, we consider the importance of a particular wetland. Then after, we notify that particular wetland to be a notified wetland within the country. So now we understand the importance of wetlands. Why everybody is talking about wetlands? Why Ramsar Convention is just talking about the protection of wetlands, protection and conservation of wetlands? Why different countries are talking about notified wetlands? They are notifying different wetlands and protecting them. Why? What is the importance of wetlands? Importance of wetlands. Importance of wetlands. When we talk about importance of wetlands, wetlands have two types of importances. One is local importance. And other one is international importance. Local importance and international importance. What are the local importances of a wetland? When we talk about local importance, my friends, we know that wetlands, they support the livelihood of the local community. support. They support the livelihood of the local community. Livelihood in form of, for example, they provide fish for the food, fishing, water for the purpose of drinking water for both human beings and the animals. Then after, water for irrigation in agriculture. So if we consider the local importance of wetlands, the first important thing is they support local livelihood in the form of providing fishing, water, multiple other resources. The next local importance of a wetland, that is, it controls the flood control. This is one of the other local importances of the wetland, flood control, because wetlands, they are the area that can just suck out huge amount of water. So if there is any flooding like situation, they contain huge amount of water and save the surrounding areas from being flooded out. So wetlands are also important for flood control. They are also important for groundwater recharge. Groundwater recharge. And one of the most important aspects of the wetlands for the local community is tourism. Because from tourism, the local communities, they get money. Indirectly, they sell their products to the tourists. They provide homestays to the tourists. So by those means, the local communities, they earn their bread. So these are the basic importances of a wetland for the local community. Now, when we talk about the importance of wetland at international level, meaning what are the importances of a wetland, meaning international importances. The first international importance of a wetland, that is critical to the biodiversity, meaning critical to biodiversity. Wetlands are critical to the biodiversity. For example, if we take Sundarban is one of the wetlands in India, and it provides home to the Bengal tiger. Endangered species. So that's how we see that wetlands, they are critical to the biodiversity that could be important at the global level. So that's how we see critical to the biodiversity. Next is home to rare species. Wetlands, they could provide home to the rare species. For example, if we talk about Loktak Lake of Manipur, then we know the Sengai deer, which is endangered, rare species, is protected under the Loktak wetland ecosystem, Loktak Lake wetland ecosystem. So Loktak Lake, it provides safe stay to the Sengai deer. So that's how we see that wetlands could be home to rare species as well. The next importance is habitat to migratory species. Habitat to migratory species. For example, Koleru Lake of Andhra Pradesh, it provides It is used by millions of migratory birds each year. So that's how we see that these are the importances, these are the basic importances of a wetland that could be of international importance. Now, we were discussing about Ramsar Convention, and we discussed that what is Ramsar Convention. We also discussed these three key important terms here. Now, coming to our next discussion with respect to Ramsar Convention, that is when was it signed? So Ramsar Convention, my friends, it was signed, it was adopted basically. It was adopted on 2nd of February 1971. That's why on the February 2 each year, we celebrate as World Wetlands Day. World Wetlands Day. World Wetlands Day. So it was adopted on February 2, 1971, where it was adopted at Ramsar city. That's why it is known as Ramsar Convention, because it was adopted in Ramsar city, which is a coastal city of Iran, coast to the Caspian Sea, towards the Caspian Sea. So this convention, it was adopted on February 2, 1971 at Ramsar city of Iran. Now, the next important thing, that it entered into force on December 21 and 1975. After the minimum required countries ratified it. Only then after it entered into force on December 21, 1975. And as of now, more than 170 countries are party to the convention. As of now, more than 170 countries are the party to the convention. Now, if we talk about the mandate or the objective of the Ramsar Convention, we know that it was brought to establish a global ecosystem for the conservation of wetlands, meaning global coordinated kind of ecosystem, global coordinated effort for the conservation of wetlands. Basically, it was brought. And how the conservation of wetlands is to be ensured under the Ramsar Convention. It is done for the conservation of wetlands. It recognizes wetlands of international importance. Wetlands of international it recognizes wetlands of international importance, meaning for the conservation of wetlands all around the world. The Ramsar Convention, it recognizes wetlands of international importance. Now remember, my friends, the phrase is international importance. The term is international importance. As we have discussed, while discussing about the importance of wetlands, that importance of wetlands, that is two-faceted: local importance, international importance. So here we see that Ramsar Convention, it recognizes only those wetlands as Ramsar sites that are of international importance. Remember, international importance, meaning critical to the biodiversity, home to rare species, habitat to migratory birds, meaning providing habitat to migratory birds, like Koleru Lake in Andhra Pradesh. So this is the next aspect related to the Ramsar Convention, and thus it ensures the protection of wetlands, first of all, protection of wetlands, and wise use of their resources as well, wise use of their resources as well. Resources meaning like water, like fish, etc. Multiple resources of a wetland. So this Ramsar Convention is not just disallowing the uses of the resources of a wetland. It only says that the use of the resources must be wise, sustainable. For example, you can use the water of wetlands. You can use the fish. You can take the fish from the wetlands for the consumption purpose. But that should be sustainable. It doesn't mean that you're sucking out all the water from a wetland and turning out that particular wetland to be a dry land. So it says sustainable use, meaning wise use. It can be done by the local community, and it ensures the protection of those internationally important wetlands at high priority. So this is all about the mandate of the Ramsar Convention. Now the next question that arises in our mind, that why a particular country would want their wetlands to be recognized as Ramsar sites. What is the advantage? So my friends, that advantage is in the form of prestige of that country. Prestige of that country as champion of ecology, as champion of the conservation and protection of biodiversity. So a prestige is associated. The next important thing is international funding. Funding is also one of the key aspects. Countries are willing for their wetlands to be recognized as Ramsar sites, because this may attract, I'm not saying necessarily they are getting funding, but this may attract funding. Next important thing is, which is the most important, that is ecotourism. Ecotourism. When a wetland in a country is recognized as Ramsar site, the tourism boosts in that region. And with the boost of tourism, we see various economic benefits to the local community. So that's why countries are eager that their wetlands are recognized as Ramsar sites. The next important feature is conservation, enhanced conservation. Because biodiversity is important not just only at the international level. We have also counted the local benefits of the wetlands. So countries, they also conserve, they also want to conserve their wetlands. And when any wetland is recognized as Ramsar site, so it enhances the conservation efforts of a country with respect to the wetlands. So that's why countries are eager for their wetlands to be recognized as Ramsar sites. Now, the next and the last important thing with respect to the Ramsar Convention is Ramsar Convention and India. Ramsar Convention and India. What is the relationship between India and the Ramsar Convention? Is India party to the convention? Yes. India joined this convention India joined this convention on February 1, 1982. 1982. This convention was reached on February 2 in 1972, but India joined it after almost after 11 years, on February 1, 1982. So it means India is not the original signatory to the convention. This is important point. This could be one of the statements in the question of the UPSC. They can say that India is the original signatory of the convention, one of the statements, and that would be the wrong statement, because India is not the original signatory of the convention. Next important thing, as per the latest sources, India has total 94 wetlands recognized as Ramsar sites. There are multiple notified wetlands in India, more than 1300 notified wetlands notified by the government. But in all of them, 94 wetlands of India, they are recognized as Ramsar sites. Ramsar sites. And the latest 94th, because that's why we are discussing this topic, 94th, that is Gogabil Lake of Katihar district in Bihar. 94th is Gogabil Lake. Gogabil Lake of Katihar district in Bihar. In Bihar. It became 6th Ramsar site in Bihar and 94th Ramsar site in India. Gogabil Lake. Recognized as Ramsar site last week. So that's why we are discussing this Ramsar Convention at all. That's why it is becoming important for our exam as well. And with that, if we just say, if we see the rank of India at the international level, so India is having third most number of Ramsar sites in the world after United Kingdom. After United Kingdom and Mexico, and then after we see India with 94 Ramsar sites. So India is on the third place in the global ranking in terms of number of Ramsar sites after United Kingdom, meaning Britain, and then Mexico, and then third one India. In UK, 176 Ramsar sites, in Mexico 144, and in India 94 Ramsar sites as of now, meaning middle of the November 2025. The next important thing here is that the states with largest number of Ramsar sites in India, Tamil Nadu with 20 Ramsar sites, then after Uttar Pradesh with 10 Ramsar sites, and then after this latest entry in Bihar, Bihar is on the third place with 6 Ramsar sites. Now, if we talk about the largest wetlands in India, then we see Sundarbans of West Bengal. Sundarbans of West Bengal is the largest wetland, followed by Vembanad in Kerala. Vembanad Lake in Kerala, and then after Chilka in Odisha. These are the largest Ramsar sites in India. Sundarbans, then after wetland, then after Chilka, meaning largest one is Sundarban. And if we talk about smallest wetland, meaning smallest Ramsar site in India, that is Renuka wetland. Renuka wetland of Himachal Pradesh. So my friend, this was all about the Ramsar Convention. We did a complete holistic coverage, a wholesome coverage as per the requirement of our civil services exam, IAS or PCS exam. There could be objective questions, there could be subjective questions. We discussed one of the subjective questions as well here. And now we are going to discuss the relevant MCQs from this topic. The first MCQ is consider the following statements regarding Ramsar Convention. First statement says, it is the only global environmental treaty that focuses on a single ecosystem type. The second statement says, India is one of the original signatories of the convention. The third statement says, Ramsar definition of wetlands does not include only marine area. Any marine area, sorry. Now, which of the given statements are correct? Option A says 1 and 2, B says 1, 2 and 3, C says only 1, D says none. Now you have to just find out the right answer and drop your comment in the comment section below. Pause this video for a moment, for a few seconds, and try to find out the right answer. Now, my friends, if we just try to consider all these statements, the first statement says, it is the only global environmental treaty that focuses on a single ecosystem type. Of course, this is right, as we know, because multiple other treaties are there, but they focus over multiple ecosystems, meaning more than one ecosystem, whereas Ramsar Convention, it focuses only over one ecosystem, that is wetlands. So one is right. Now we see second. India is one of the original signatories of the convention. No, this is not right, because India became party to Ramsar Convention only in 1982, whereas this convention was signed in 1971. Now, if you see the third statement, it says Ramsar definition of wetlands does not include any marine area. My friends, when we talk about wetlands, marine areas, those marine areas that are up to 6 meters deep, meaning marine areas of up to 6 meters of depth at the low tide, meaning in low tide condition, if any marine area is up to 6 meters deep, meaning not more than 6 meters deep, that marine area can also be included in the definition of wetlands. So, Ramsar definition of wetlands does not include any marine area. It is a wrong statement. It can include the marine area if it is not more than 6 meters of depth at low tide conditions. Now we find out the right option here. Only first statement that is correct. So here we see our option C is correct. Now coming to the next MCQ, MCQ 2, it says, with reference to the Ramsar sites in India as of November 15, 2025, consider the following statements. First statement says, Uttar Pradesh has largest number of Ramsar sites, followed by Tamil Nadu. Of course, Uttar Pradesh has largest number of Ramsar sites, meaning second largest. The largest number of Ramsar sites are there in Tamil Nadu, meaning Tamil Nadu is first and Uttar Pradesh is second. So the states have been reversed here in this statement. Now, so it means this statement is wrong. Coming to the second statement, Sundarbans is the largest Ramsar site, followed by Renuka wetland in India. Half the statement is correct. Sundarbans is the largest Ramsar site. But the next part of the same statement, it says followed by Renuka wetland, meaning Renuka wetland is the second largest Ramsar site. Is it so? No. Renuka wetland is the smallest Ramsar site in India. Smallest Ramsar site in India. So it means second statement is also incorrect. Coming over third statement, after the latest designation of Gogabil Lake, which is designated as Ramsar site in Bihar as the latest entry in India recently. Now Bihar has second largest number of Ramsar sites in India. No, because second number of Ramsar sites, second largest number of Ramsar sites are with the Uttar Pradesh, that are 10 Ramsar sites. Tamil Nadu first with 20, and Bihar is now third. Bihar is now third with 6 Ramsar sites. So it means this statement is also wrong. Now, finding out the right option here, how many of the above statements are correct? My friends, note down the words here. How many? It is not asking which are the statements are correct. It is asking how many statements are correct. And we see no statement is correct. No any statement is correct. So only one, only two, all the three, nothing. Like answer is D, none. Meaning no any statement is correct. So this is all about Ramsar convention today. I tried to keep it relevant as per the demand of our civil services exam, because MCQs are framed in civil services exam similarly in the IAS PCS exams. And we also discussed a subjective question from the Ramsar convention. Now, at the end of this video lecture, I'm glad to inform you, my friends, that very soon we are going to start offline batch of General Studies Foundation course for English medium aspirants of IAS and PCS exams. So those who are interested to join an offline batch of General Studies Foundation course, you can contact to our institute, that is Rudra IAS, situated at Band Road, Elenganj, Prayagraj. And you can enjoy the course, that is the foundation course of General Studies, very relevant to our exam, because I'm just making the course completely innovative and relevant as per the demand of the exam. So any of you or any of your acquaintances that are just finding out, trying to just join any batch of General Studies Foundation course, they are highly invited. And the most important thing is that the fee structure of this foundation course of General Studies, that is highly reasonable, meaning the fee is exactly highly affordable. When we say highly affordable, it is really highly affordable. When recently I was meeting a number of English medium aspirants of IAS and PCS exams. So the concerns of most of the students were similar. They were just saying whenever they are thinking of joining an affordable batch of General Studies Foundation course, mostly they are compelled to join either Hindi medium batches or bilingual batches. I mean Hindi medium batches on the name of bilingual batches. So that's why we decided to bring in a completely new and purely English medium batch of General Studies Foundation course dedicated to only English medium aspirants of IAS and PCS exams. So those who are interested to join this batch, they can contact to our institute, Rudra IAS, Band Road, Elenganj, Prayagraj. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this lecture.